myself FALGUNI. Welcome to our channel. In previous part, we discussed about how Carter discovered the dead body of TUT in 1922, who was died before 3,300 years ago. And after 80 years, it was the first time when TUT's body was passed from the CT scan, and the mystery behind his death will be going to relieved by the new secretary of antiquity. The new secretary Zahi Hawass informed and submitted his report about the mummy, the dead body of TUT, and his condition, because Carter in 1922 he tried to discover the death mystery behind the TUT's death, and for that he did few of experiments. And that few of experiment, one was that he put the dead body of TUT in sunshine to buzz यानी कि move the resin and to find the reason, but he was completely unsuccessful and he couldn't find anything. But one thing happened, and the thing was that the condition of dead body of TUT was worse. Now let's continue our lesson. In this defense, Carter really had little choice. If he hadn't cut the mummy free, thieves most certainly would have circumvented the guards and ripped it apart to remove the gold. So here, when our new secretary of antiquity, Carter, he informed that in 1922, when Carter did that experiment, if Carter had little choice, first one is that if he hadn't cut the mummy free from that golds and that ornaments which was precious for anyone, then definitely second option was that the thieves, that thugs, definitely steal all these things, all this gold from the dead body, यानी कि mummy of TUT. Circumvented, the word circumvented means cheated or befooled, and ripped it apart, it means separated or torn away from his body. Why? But definitely thugs or thieves, they want only gold, and the mummy of TUT was full of gold. In TUT's time, the royals were fabulously wealthy, and they thought or hoped they could take their riches with them. As we know, in the current time, हम लोग बोलते खाली हाथ आए थे खाली हाथ जाएंगे. But in TUT's time, TUT, as we discussed, TUT belonged to royal family, and they were fabulously rich. That's why in that his time, the people's belief was that whatever wealth you have, you could carry with you for the next birth, यानी कि life after death. For his journey to the great beyond, King Tut was lavished with glittering goods, precious collars, inlaid necklaces and bracelets, rings, amulets, a ceremonial apron, sandals, shreds for the fingers and toes, and now iconic inner coffin and mask, all of pure gold. Now when the Carter found the dead body, यानी कि mummy of TUT, all the fabulously incredible or the things which we never seen in current time, he found, and the things was like this: that glittering goods, precious colors, inlaid necklace, bracelets, rings, amulets, ceremonial aprons, sandals, shoes of fingers and toes, and the now ironical inner coffin and mask, all of the pure gold. Now few of the words are new for us, so let's see. Here the word is lavish. Lavish, it means gifted or restored nicely with the dead body. Glittering, it means shining. Then next one is precious. As we know, valuable. Inlaid necklace, inlaid यानी कि फाइन मटेरियल्स इंसर्टेड, यानी कि बहुत ही अच्छे मटेरियल से बना हुआ. Bracelets, you know the meaning of bracelet? Rings. Amulets, it means magical chains, जैसे कि हम लोग बोलते हैं कुछ तावीज जैसा. Then ceremonial apron को हम लोगों को पता है what is apron. Then sandals भी पता है. Shrouds यानी कि a covering, यानी कि कुछ कवर बना हुआ, उसके जो फिंगर्स और टोज पे बना हुआ होता है कवर. अगर आप पुराने इजिप्टियन किंग्स को देखोगे तो आपको एग्जैक्ट आइडिया आ जाएगा लाइक विच टाइप ऑफ ऑर्नामेंट्स दे वॉर. एंड आइकॉनिक इनर कॉफिन. नाउ आइकॉनिक इनर कॉफिन, आइकॉनिक यानी कि पर्टेनिंग टू एन इमेज. मास्क मतलब पता है कवरिंग टू कंसील द फेस. एंड ये सारी चीज़ें हैं वो प्योर गोल्ड की है और वी नो द वैल्यू ऑफ गोल्ड in current time. To separate Tut from his adornments, Carton's men removed the mummy's head and severed nearly every major joints. See, to remove all that valuable things, the Carter's secretary or assistant removed almost all the parts of Tut's body to remove that all the gold ornaments nicely. Once they had finished, they reassembled the remains on a layer of sand in a wooden box with padding that concealed the damage. Now, their first duty is that to remove all that gold from the dead body of Tut, because the news spread outside, and definitely it's like a golden chance for thugs to steal all these things. So they did it instead of to give chance to the that thugs. And then so first resemble it means the jointed again. जैसे कि उन लोगों ने सारे पार्ट्स रिमूव किए थे तो जैसे पार्ट्स थे उसको वापस इसी जगह पे लाइक एज इट इज़ उसको वापस जॉइंट कर दिया यानी कि फिट कर दिए गए थे. एंड द रिमेनिंग ऑफ द लेयर ऑफ सैंड इन अ वुडन बॉक्स विथ पैडिंग यानी कि फिल आउट दैट कंसील यानी कि हाइड द डैमेज एंड द बेड वर टट नाउ रेस्ट. लोगों ने जब whenever they remove that body from that coffin, definitely few of the parts weren't completely matched. So to conceal यानी कि to hide the damage, they had put all this stuff, wooden boxes, in that dead body of Tut. Damage यानी कि it's like harm, and they put the dead body of Tut again as it was at first time. Archaeology has changed subsequently in the intervening decades, focusing less on treasure and more on the fascinating details of life and intriguing mysteries of death. It also used more sophisticated tools, including medical technology. Now with the time, it was the time around 1922 when the Carter did all these things. Archaeology has changed subsequently in intervening decades, focusing less on treasure and more on the fascinating details of life and intriguing mysteries of death. So first Carter did all this experiment in 1922, not exact 1922 but around 1922. So after 80 years यानी कि 2002. So now that archaeological department इट मीन्स द साइंस ऑफ एंसेंट रूइंस कि जो पुराने टाइप के जो सारी मिस्ट्रीज़ हैं उनको खोजने में, उन पर रिसर्च करने में वो सारे जो काम करते हैं, जो पूरी इंस्टीट्यूट होती है उसको बोलते हैं आर्कियोलॉजिकल डिपार्टमेंट. हैज़ चेंज नाउ सब्सिक्वेंटली यानी कि विथ टाइम इज ऑल्सो चेंज. एंड इंटरविंग यानी कि लाइंग बिटवीन द डिकेड्स, फोकसिंग लेस ऑन ट्रेजर एंड मोर ऑन फैसिनेटिंग डिटेल्स ऑफ लाइफ. एंड now with time they are not more interested in all these treasures, all these valuable things. Now they are more interested in fascinating details, fascinating yani which attract the people to know about the previous kings यानी कि old kings life, their death, about their histories, their lifestyle and all these things. And now mysteries and intriguing mysteries, intriguing यानी कि secret of their death. It also uses more sophisticated tools यानी कि more advanced tools including medical technology. In 1968, as we know, in medical technology, now we can compare in 1922 the modern technology and in 2002, even in now 2020, we have completely advanced technology in medical field also. So in 1968, more than 40 years after Carter's discovery, an anatomy professor x-rayed the mummy and revealed a startling fact: beneath the resin that cakes his chest, his breastbone and front ribs are missing. So first it was done in 1922. In around 1968, after 40 years that Carter has discovered the dead body or mummy, the anatomy professor. Now anatomy, it means the study of human body, where there is a study on humans body, especially in dead bodies, and which they found from the ancient one. And the professor declared one startling यानी कि shocking, unbelievable news, and the fact was that beneath the resin that cakes his chest, the breastbone and front ribs were missing. How it missed? Definitely when in 1922 Carter did something, and due to that discovery, or due to that he separated all the body parts and then reassembled it, in all that process they missed that two parts, breastbone and front rib. It was completely shocking, because after 40 years, is it possible that you can regain all these things? Definitely not. So your investigation or your research stopped at a point when you miss something which is especially important, when you are solving the mystery of someone's death, and the person who already died before 3300 years ago. Today diagnostic imaging can be done with computed tomography, यानी कि हम लोग बोलते हैं CT scan, CT, by which hundreds of x-rays in cross section are put together like slices of bread to create the three-dimensional virtual body. Now that writer explained that in modern science we have CT scan as a latest tool, and we can easily find the things inside the human body, and hundreds of x-rays in cross section, like as we know x-ray cross section, and slices of bread to create a three-dimensional virtual body. Now what is that slices यानी कि pieces, and virtual body, it means almost real. What more about a CT scan reveal a TUT than the x-ray? And could it answer two of the biggest questions still lingering about him? Lingering यानी कि remain or unsolved. How did he die, and how old was he at the time of his death? Still there is a thing which reveal यानी कि which show that there is a two things are still hide or still unrevealed. First thing is that the reason of his death, and second the age when he was died. What was his exact age? Because definitely we have some information that he was a boy's pharaoh, he was dying in his early age, in teenage, but what was the exact age? No one knows. Teenage start from the 12 to 19, and especially they mention that late teen. Now late teen means 16, 17, 18, 19. It's still mystery. King Tut's demise was a big event, even by royal standard. Demise यानी कि death, it was completely big event, and especially at royal standard, when some pharaoh यानी कि king who ruled nicely on their kingdom and suddenly died. He was the last of his family's line, and his funeral was the death rattle of a dynasty. But the particulars of his passing away, its aftermath are unclear. And it especially is important because he was the last of his family line, यानी कि he was the last person who continued their own family legacy. And the particulars of passing away and its aftermath are unclear. Aftermath यानी कि the stories what followed thereafter, like उसके बाद क्या हुआ, स्टिल इट्स अ मिस्ट्री. कोई किसी को कुछ पता ही नहीं है. पर्टिकुलर्स यानी कि डिटेल्स नहीं पता है कि उनकी डेथ के बाद उनकी फैमिली, उनकी जो पूरी लेगेस जो चली आ रही थी उसके साथ क्या हुआ, उनके जो फैमिली मेम्बर्स उनके साथ क्या हुआ. दिस स्टिल अ मिस्ट्री. बहुत लोगों को वो कुछ पता नहीं है. Amenhotep III Tut's father or grandfather was a powerful pharaoh who ruled for almost 4 decades at the height of the 18th dynasty's golden age. Amenhotep is the name of Tut's father or grandfather, so there is not particular any information about the name of this person. He was exactly Tut's father or grandfather, but whoever he was a great ruler. Pharaoh यानी कि ruler, king. And during that time when the person ruled, it was the golden era or golden age of the Egyptian time. His son Amenhotep IV succeeded him and initiated one of the strangest periods in the history of Egypt, ancient Egypt. Why it was the strangest time? Because when you did something different and completely new from your family legacy of your family ruler, then definitely it's like a high time or completely highlighted time for the people or the others and the researchers. Why? Let's see what did the king for did something different from his family. The new pharaoh promoted the worship of the Aten, the sun disk, changed his name to Akhenaten or servant of the Aten, and removed the religious capital from the old city of Thebes to the new city of Akhetaten, known now as Amarna, and he further shocked the country by attacking Amen, a major god, smashing his images and closing his temples. Now that King 4, during the Amenhotep, the King 3, it was a golden era of the Egyptian time, but when succeeded yani ki when his own son take over his kingdom and now he started ruling, it was completely different time for them because he started something different which was completely shocking for the people and the family members of them also, because he promoted यानी कि encourage the worship of the Aten यानी वहाँ पर जैसे कि हम लोग यहाँ पे बहुत सारे डिफरेंट गॉड्स होते हैं, तो उनके टाइम में भी अलग अलग लाइक डिफरेंट गॉड होते थे. कोई किसी को मानता था, कोई और किसी को मानता था. लाइक हम लोग की कुलदेवी होती है, कुल देवता होता है, तो वो किंग्स उनको ज़्यादा फॉलो करते हैं. तो एग्जैक्टली हैपन दैट न्यू फेरो ने क्या किया था, प्रमोटेड यानी कि एनकरेज द वर्शिप ऑफ द आर्टन, द सन डिस्क. आर्टन का नाम क्या था, मीन्स उसका मीनिंग क्या था, द सन डिस्क. चेंज हिज नेम टू द Akhenaten or servant of the Aten and moved the religious capital from the old city to Thebes, the new city of Akhetaten. यानी कि उनकी पुरानी कैपिटल कौन सा था, थेब्स. नया कौन सा है, Akhetaten, known now as Amarna. उनका जो नया नाम है वो था Amarna. He further shocked the country by attacking Amen, a major god. जो उनको वो जो मेन गॉड था लाइक कुलदेवता जो आमन था. Smash यानी कि डैमेज और broken his images and closing all his temples. Why? Because he changed his god, and he changed God, so he also indirectly saying to his people to stop worshipping of that old god. Instead of it, you have to worship new one and new one. And it must have been a horrific time, said Ray Johnson, director of the University of Chicago's Research Center in Luxor, the site of ancient Thebes. The family that had ruled for centuries was coming to an end, and then Akhenaten went little wacky. So, professor, all the things was informed by the professor Ray Johnson from Chicago. In his research, he mentioned all these things, and when that king completely changed the worshipping of God, that time it was the end of the centuries rule party, and all this incident Akhenaten went a little wacky. Wacky यानी कि थोड़ा सा खिसका हुआ, ना सनकी, crazy. After Akhenaten's death, a mysterious ruler named Semekhakre appeared briefly and exited with hardly a trace. उनके बाद क्या आया? नया आया था, और नया जो आया था वो ब्रीफली यानी कि लाइक उनके बारे में कुछ ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन डिटेल्स किसी के पास नहीं थे. एग्जिटेड यानी कि डिपार्टेड विदाउट एनी पुटिंग एनी ट्रेस यानी कि साइन. एंड देन अ वेरी यंग Tutankhaten took the throne, King Tut, as he widely known today. So उनके बाद कौन आया? जो हमारा प्रेजेंट लेसन के हीरो बोल सकते हैं हम लोग. Tutankhaten took the throne यानी कि उन्होंने पूरा जो किंगडम था उसको संभाला. And right now we know him as a King Tut. The boy king soon changed his name to Tutankhamun, living image of Amen, and oversaw a restoration of old ways. He reigned for about 9 years and then died unexpectedly. चलो वापस यहाँ पे पूरी स्टोरी को समझने की ट्राई करते हैं. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल उनके जो गॉड थे, तो यहाँ पे जो आमन थे उनके पुराने गॉड, तो क्या होता है जो किंग फोर था वो उनको पूरी सारी जो टेम्पल्स होते हैं, सारी चीज़ें होती है विच रिप्रेजेंट द ओल्डर गॉड, ही स्मैश ऑल द थिंग्स. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल ही स्मैश ऑल द थिंग्स. ही नाउ वर्शिपिंग द Aten. That's why he also adopted his name as Akhenaten with the name of the god. तो वापस उसको अडॉप्ट करते हैं. सो यहाँ पे इनका जो नाम है Aten वो उसके उनके खुद के नाम में भी अटैच करता है Akhenaten. Now after the next ruler came that Semekhakre, and then after his death the new will come, and that was Tutankhaten. Now in the end of his name we can also see that Aten, spell of that new god which worshipped by that Akhenaten. But the wise pharaoh was completely different, and he again changed his name, and his new name was Tutankhamun. यहाँ पे you can say AMUN. It's a name of for previous god यानी कि older god which his forefather worshipped. समझ में आ रहा है? And the meaning of the god is living image of Amen. उनके नेम का मतलब होता है living image of Amen. Clear? And he oversaw the restoration यानी कि जो पुरानी चीज़ें वो रीएस्टैब्लिशमेंट, जो पुरानी चीज़ें चली गई थी उसको वापस उसने एस्टैब्लिश किया, यानी कि restoration यानी कि रीएस्टैब्लिशमेंट ऑफ द ओल्डर ways. He reigned for about 9 years when he accepted, or when he ruled that throne. His age was 9 years, and then he died unexpectedly. There still is a mystery behind his death. No one knows the reason behind his death, what happened suddenly, because he was completely in limelight. Why limelight? Because he was the one who reintroduced their real god, their लाइक बोलते हैं ना कुल देवता. एक्चुअली यहाँ पे कुल देवता हमको पता नहीं है, लेकिन मेजर गॉड है, उसको सालों से वो लोग वर्शिप करते आए हैं. डेफिनेटली हम लोग मान सकते हैं कुल देवता टाइप. रिगार्ड्स ऑफ हिज फेम एंड द स्पेक्यूलेशंस अबाउट हिज फेट, टट इज वन ममी अमोंग मैनी इन इजिप्ट. एज वी नो इजिप्ट इज लाइक कंट्री ऑफ ममीज, सो टट was one of them. How many? No one knows. No one knows how many mummies were there in 1922, in 1968, 2022, or 2002, or right now 2020. The Egyptian Mummy Project, which began an inventory in late 2003, has recorded almost 600 so far, or still counting. After that Mummy Project, and in 2003, they started to find the mummies, and when they started, almost they recorded 600 around, and it's still counting. There is no fixed digit, there are only 600. There will be more after then. The next phrase, scanning the mummies with a portable sitting machine donated by the National Geographical Society and Siemens, its manufacturer, the King Tut is one of the first mummies to be scanned, in death as in life, moving regally ahead of his countrymen. Now As we know, everyone like to be attached his name with the success or successor. So here the same thing happened. The TUT's mummy was the first which was going to be scanned in death as in life, because no one is that lucky there that mummies uh, was scanned first. Only the TUT in 2002, only the TUT's mummy यानी कि dead body is going to be scanned. And that city machine was also donated by the National Geographical Society in Siemens its manufacturer. तो उनका जो मैन्युफैक्चरर था उन्होंने वो पूरी मशीन्स वहाँ पे डोनेट की हुई थी. वाई, क्यों डोनेट की होगी? बिकॉज इट्स लाइक हिस्ट्री, और कौन हिस्ट्री के साथ जुड़ना नहीं चाहेगा? एवरीवन. A city machine scanned by mummy had to tow, creating 1,700 digital X-ray images in cross-section. TUTs had scanned in 0.62 millimeter slices to register its intricate structures, takes on airy details in the resulting image. So first a CT scan start, and that time there was 1,700 or 1,700 digital X-ray images in cross sections, and that city machine scan mummies had to tow, and its head scan in 0.62 millimeter slices यानी कि pieces to register that intricate structure. Now intricate structure यानी कि that little bit or a complex structure of human body, and all their in added details यानी कि any little and single detail with mummies with TUT's entire body. Similarly recorded, a team of specialists in radiology, forensics and anatomy begins to probe the secrets that winged goddesses of a gilded burial sign protected for so long. So all that people belong, which specialists belong to radiology, forensic, anatomy यानी कि science of the structure of human body, probe यानी कि investigate, examine the secrets of winged goddesses of gilded यानी कि coated with gold and burial sign protected so long. So पूरी dead body which was protected by the so valuable gold, they all try to find the secret or the body. They try to find something from unrevealable truth from the TUT's body. The night of the scan, workmen carried TUT from the tomb in his box like pall bearers. They climbed a ramp and a flight of stairs into the swelling sand outside, then rose on a hydraulic lift into the trailer that held the scanner. Now the night of the scan, the first time that mummy going to be scanned, and it was TUT's mummy. The workman carried TUT from the tomb in his box, and like pallbearers यानी कि those who carry a dead body. जैसे कोई इंसान मर जाता है उसके बाद उसको जो उठा के लेके जाते हैं उसको बोलते हैं pallbearers. They climbed a ramp यानी कि the slope, and flight of stairs in the swelling sand outside. स्वेलिंग यानी कि मूविंग इन अ सर्कुलर मोशंस. वहाँ पे बहुत सारी सैंड वहाँ पे फास्ट रैपिडली वहाँ पे यहाँ वहाँ जा रही थी. देन रोज ऑन अ हाइड्रोलिक लिफ्ट. इट्स नॉट ईजी टू कैरी लाइक नॉर्मल पर्सन, सो दे नीड हाइड्रोलिक लिफ्ट टू कैरी दैट बॉक्स फ्रॉम हिज tomb to the CT scan machine. 20 minutes later, two men emerged, sprinted from an office nearly and returned with a pair of white plastic fans. The $1 million scanner had quit because of sand in a cooler fan. Curse of Pharaoh, joked the guard nervously. Now what happened when they tried to lift that dead body of TUT and held to that scanner? The 20 minutes later, the two men emerged. Emerged यानी कि like come, no, to be appear. and sprinted for an office nearly. Sprinted it means ran fast. एंड जो उसके बाजू में जो ऑफिस है वहाँ पे फास्ट वहाँ पे रन करके जाते हैं 20 minutes and written with a pair of white plastic fans. The $1 million scanner had quit यानी कि left went out because the sand in a cooler fan. जो कूलर फैन थी वहाँ पे वो सैंड चली जाती है जो टट की बॉडी के आसपास थी. उसके जो $1 million का जो स्कैनर था वो भी लाइक इन कम्प्लीटली इन वर्स कंडीशन नाउ. One of the guard nervously यानी कि in fear here said that curse of the pharaoh because they tried to awake that pharaoh who slept from last 3,300 years, and they did already 8 years before they did some experiments on it. Now it's a curse of pharaoh that that $1 million scanner also going to be like in worse condition. Eventually the substitute fans worked well enough to finish the procedure, and finally they had that first substitute fans which the two white fans which workmen carried with them. After checking that no data had been lost, the technicians turned TUT over to the workman who carried him back to his tomb. Finally the scan was happened, the procedure was completed, and technician returned that dead body of TUT to the workman to put the real place in his tomb. Less than 3 hours after he was removed from his coffin, the pharaoh again rested in peace where the funerary priest had laid him so long ago. So now again after 3 hours of testing, again pharaoh was at his resting place meaning in his graveyard, where the funerary priest and other kings were there from last ago, यानी कि they were there from last 3,000 years around. Back in the trailer it means a vehicle drawn by another technician pulled an astonishing imagination to put on TUT on a computer screen. A grey hat took shape off from a scattering of pixels, and the technician spun and tilted it in every direction. Now what happened here, when after the workman put TUT's body in tomb again, then the technician यानी कि who took all this procedure, completed all this procedure with the TUT's body, finally he turned towards and he revealed something about the TUT. And what was that? That was a grey hat took shape from a scattering of pixels. Scatterings it means spread out, and pixel यानी कि small area of light which make up an image of a screen. जैसे कि आपको एक ह्यूमन शेप बनाना है तो अलग अलग आप वहाँ पे पिक्सल्स आएंगे, उसमें से पूरा एक फेस कवर हो जाएगा वहाँ पे. लाइक हम लोग देखें तो कोई क्रिमिनल का हम लोग को केस बनाना होता है, हम लोग मतलब पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट को, तो दे आर यूजिंग द डिफरेंट आई शेप्स, दैट आईब्रोज, लिप्स, नोज, एंड फाइनली they create one picture. Neck vertebrae appeared as clearly as in an anatomy class. Other images reveal a hand, several views of rib cage, and transections of the skull. But for now the pressure was off. Finally they can now clearly see the complete picture, यानी कि complete picture of bones of TUT, and reveal यानी कि showed, and transection यानी कि a part. But now the pressure was off. Which type of pressure? Which they had before the scan was done. They completely unaware what will they get from after this scan, but now pressure was relieved, and sitting back in his chair, Zahi Hawass smiled, visibly relieved that nothing had gone seriously wrong. Before 80 years the scan was done, not the scan but the experiment was done. Zahi Hawass was in pressure that what he get after this, what will he get after this experiment or this scan, because all of the Carter did with it, and already mummy was in bad condition, so he was in completely pressure and fear that what will he get after this scan. If he get nothing after this scan, then there is a like waste of millions of dollars. I didn't sleep last night for not for a second, he said. He यानी कि हूँ Zahi Havas. I was so worried, but now I think I will go and sleep. Zahi Havas says that I was in so trance and so fear that last night, it was just for a second, there is I wasn't able to sleep. Now tension was relieved, so it's time to sleep. I can easily sleep now. Now here you can see that the image of and the few of the symbols of Egyptian culture here, their ornaments, their costumes, all this. Now here you can read that mural in King's Tut tomb showing King Tut with Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Like in our Indian culture, we believe that after death, the humans has to suffer from this and that, or after this we have a good birth or not. We don't know all this. In Egyptian culture, here we can see the picture of that god of afterlife and Tuts. There's a picture in that Tut's tomb. Now at last, by the time we left the trailer, descending metal stairs to the sandy ground, the wind had stopped. The writer says that here the Jahi Havas said that for when the Tut's dead body was again in the tomb in resting place, after then when they left the trailer and back to their position, back to their area, and the wind had stopped. The winter air lay cold and still like death itself. In this valley of the departed, the winter air was completely cold. As we know, winter time is means the cold air, but still here the Jahi Havas said that the stillness of air or the stillness of wind is like that itself. As we know, like whenever or the place there is a death of someone, there is a stillness. The stillness in the form of gloominess. The same thing happened here. And in the valley of the departed यानी कि the graveyard, just above the entrance to Tom's tomb stood Orion, the constellations that the ancient Egyptians knew as the soul of Osiris. So the person said that at the entrance of Tut's tomb there is a stood Orion. तो Orion क्या है? So वो after life के god है, like person who take care of all the tomb of the Egyptian persons who died there and who were resting there. The god of the afterlife watching over the boy king. So here the boy king, यानी कि that pharaoh, the younger pharaoh, the afterlife god was protecting them in their rest of peace. So here there is the end of the discovering Tut. Saga continues, and this source is National Geography, Volume 207, number 6. So this is a story in real based story, and it is borrowed from the National Geographic, and the volume यानी कि book 207, and the number of the chapter was number 6. So thank you.